You know, coming back to review movies for 2019, and Glass is the first one that I'm reviewing. Welcome back, guys. I'm finally back on a review, and this time it's for Glass. The conclusion to Unbreakable and Split. If you guys haven't watched Unbreakable and Split, I'm already gonna go ahead and tell you, you're probably not gonna like this movie a lot. I would say like there are some elements from Unbreakable in this film, and at the same time from Split. That with the inclusion of James McAvoy, which did a fantastic job in this movie. I freaking loved him. I loved how he switched characters like non-stop. He was great. David Dunn himself, Bruce Willis reprises his role, and I would say for the first half of the film, he was good because, you know, we got a lot of him, but then it's like he kind of slowly disappears into the background. I mean, you get to see him doing stuff like, you know, knocking shit over, breaking through doors, but that's really it. And then Samuel L. Jackson, it's the opposite with him. In the beginning, you kind of don't see much of Elijah. He's just kind of like moping around because they overdosed his ass with a lot of like drugs, so he's just kind of sitting there. But he wakes up, I would say, and, you know, kind of becomes the mastermind behind this entire plot. And then we have the doctor, who's played by Sarah Paulson. I don't know. I kind of liked her character in the beginning because she was trying to convince all three of them that, hey, superheroes don't exist. And that's what this whole movie is about. This whole movie is literally her telling them, or trying to convince them that, hey, you are not a superhero. Like, get that shit out of your head. And we kind of get hints that she belongs to this group, some mysterious group that sent her to like achieve this mission. You know, she's trying to like implant images into their head, like to remind them that they're just human. And I would say there are some good moments with her up until maybe the third act. That's where everything just kind of like shifts for me. But let's quickly talk about the other characters like Elijah's mom, Casey, and then David's son, Joseph, I believe. So I would say if you like those characters in the previous movies, you're gonna like them in this. But sometimes I felt like they were a little bit forced. But before I get into all the good things and all the bad things, is do I agree with the critics? And honestly, I can see their viewpoints. Let's put it that way. Because at the end of the movie, I was disappointed. Guys, I love the first hour of this movie. I'm not gonna lie. I was on board. I was like, what the hell are the critics talking about? This movie is freaking awesome. There's a lot of good stuff that comes from David Dunn, and then we get an early scene between him and the Beast, and it's awesome. It's really good. It's like they combined Unbreakable and Split and like within like that first half hour, 45-minute mark. And then once we get to this asylum where all three are being held captive, is actually pretty interesting. I was on board with that. I liked how she was really trying to force them. I like how they were kept in captivity. I like how like these flashing lights turns a horde and it brings out each character. And James McAvoy does an amazing job in like portraying each character like this. Like he switches so quick, it's insane. And then Elijah himself, you know, he's pretty good. I wouldn't say this movie was really a Glass kind of movie. I would say it's more of a Split sequel because it focuses more on the horde as to, you know, like what is their purpose, like, you know, what's the whole thing about the horde. And at the same time we have the doctor saying, hey, you're not a superhero, and it's like repetitive as hell and it gets annoying. But anyway, so let's talk about the ending because that's where just shit hits a fan. Let's put it that way. This shit hits a fan, falls flat on its face, because I was on board. I was on board with the movie. I loved every single thing about the film. And then we get to the ending, which I feel like this is more of an issue with the director, M. Night Shyamalans. If you guys remember in previous movies, Unbreakable, Elijah, real quick, spoilers about Unbreakable and Split. But in Unbreakable, you have Elijah. You find out in the end that he's the one that caused all these murders, derating the train, you know, blowing up the buildings. And then in Split, you have that surprise ending of David Dunn. And that's what ties those two movies together. Now, in the ending of this film, I wouldn't say we're really getting introduced to a new character, but a group of characters, I would say. And it's like, why? Like, none of that makes any sense whatsoever. Like, the whole time Elijah has this plan, this mastermind plan that, you know, the world needs to see superheroes and all that. And I was on board. I was like, hell yeah, let's go. But they talk about it so much that you're like kind of waiting, you know, and you're like, okay, but it takes a different route. And that's where the whole Shyamalan twist happens. And to me, honestly, this twist, sorry to say, it's fucking sucked. And I would say that that's mainly my opinion, obviously, but I want to know what you guys think of the ending of this movie, because I was not on board at all. I was shaking my head. And like I said, some guy literally could not wait to walk out of the theater because he was so angry at the ending. So overall, guys, I thought like the second act of the movie was pretty good. I love the first one. I was like, oh my god, the critics are hella wrong. Let's keep going. Second act was pretty good, decent. It kind of was getting a little bit slower for me because we were mainly talking, trying to figure out, you know, what we're gonna do with the Beast and what we're gonna do with David Dunn. How are we gonna convince them that they're just regular people? But then whenever we get this plan and we get introduced to this new character thing, it's just like, what the fuck just happened? It's like when a movie starts off pretty bad, but in the end it ends strong and you're like, holy shit, yeah, that made up for the whole movie. It happens. But in this case, it's a complete opposite for me. The movie starts off super strong and then it just takes a nosedive into concrete and it just ends. And that's why I'm giving Glass a 2.9 out of 5. I left the theater very disappointed and I was just like, what the hell, like that, I can't believe they ended it like that. So with that said, let's talk spoilers and let me tell you why the movie, to me, falls flat on its face. So the movie ends literally with every single one of them dying because the doctor is part of some fancy cloverleaf club that for some reason eliminates people with special abilities. And the thing is, everyone dies. Everyone is literally murdered by this club. Like, David Dunn gets drowned, which just seems pathetic. They literally drown him in a pond. And it makes me wonder, like, I thought you were super strong. I'm pretty sure you can throw this guy off your back. Then Kevin, Dennis, one of them gets shot. And, you know, Casey's just holding him in his arms. And he's just dying. You know, all these characters start flushing out. And like I said, I love James McAvoy when he starts, like, switching roles like that. But by that point, I was just like, what the fuck? That was random. And Elijah gets gut punched by the beast. And of course, you know, he's made out of glass, basically. So he shatters his insides and he's slowly dying. And at the same time, we have this whole masterful plan that they're going to go to this building, this new building where all the cameras are going to see. And they want to be seen by the entire world. But even with that plan, I was just like, okay, and then what happens? Like, what's after that? Like, what are you gonna do after they finally get a whole showdown between David Dunn and the Beast? That's just kind of weird. Like, what else happens after that? Like, you just go to jail, basically, because one, he's a vigilante, he's hurt people. The Beast has murdered people, and Elijah obviously is a murderer. I don't get the point of this. And then the movie keeps going after they die. Basically, it's like, okay, like Elijah goes into the security room, writes up a piece of code that for some reason is gonna stream the entire fight live because the doctor installed hundreds of cameras around the building just because Elijah was going to be there, because they needed to monitor him at all times, which they do a shitty job of because none of the security guards are even checking the cameras. The freaking nurses or whatever they are checking the cameras. So it's like, what the like, why them? Like, let the security guard do that. But yeah, guys, that's the reason why I hated this ending. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys liked the review. Those are my thoughts. So I want to be watching Dragon Ball Super Broly probably at the end of the week. So I'm definitely going to put a review up of that. So make sure you guys subscribe if you guys haven't already. It's a little bit weird getting back on camera. So I'm still trying to figure out my whole lighting and whatnot. So if you haven't seen my update video, make sure to watch that, because, you know, and if you want to see my Unbreakable and Split reviews, I'll post them here somewhere. But that's it, guys. Follow me on Twitter at fmo1126, on my Instagram at fmo1126_YouTube. My links will be down in the description. And as always, guys, stay tuned.